Thank you for tuning in. If this is your first time joining us, welcome. We hope your experience is fruitful. Please feel free to visit our website to find out how you can join our growing family. While we are loading your experience, please do us a quick favor and hit that like button from whichever platform you're watching or listening on. Also, share so others may enjoy as well. And we hope you would consider hitting that subscribe or follow button so you can check out more of our amazing content. All right, let's start the show.
Praise the Lord, all ye his people. I'm just playing. How y'all doing tonight? How you doing tonight? This is your boy, WaltB, and we are here with the WaltB connection. How you doing tonight, Manal?
Oh, man, I'm doing all right. It has been a day. Well, I tell you, when it is your time, it is your time. And it doesn't matter what you don't have, what you think you're not ready for. The universe says it is your time. So today, a lot has just been dropped in my lap, and I'm like,
Okay.
I'm ready. I know what to do with it.
Absolutely. You know, they say they won't put more on you than you can bear.
Yeah.
They say something like that, you know. I got a big lap, so I tend to think that's why I got big shit dropped in my lap all the time, because my laps are big. But I'm trying to unbig my lap. How that is.
But you still want to hold all that you have.
All that I can, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, all the stuff that pays that I can have. I want to hold that. Well, we want to welcome you all once again to the WaltB connection. This is where we connect over all things love, life, and relationship. So we're going to talk about a little bit of this, a little bit of that, but it's all going to be about what connects you and me. Of course, we want to connect with self, but we also want to connect with others. So the first thing we have for you all on tonight, on the WaltB connection, tonight we're going to be discussing critical race theory. And we kind of just wanted to kind of set the stage, critical race theory. Before we go any further, Manal, when we start talking about critical race theory, it's like it shouldn't be a polarizing thing, Before we give a definition, it shouldn't be a polarizing thing. But why is it that people go batshit crazy when we bring up critical race theory?
Oh man, this idea of should or shouldn't,
Mm-hmm.
that doesn't exist because we are people. So it just is. People are not going to see eye to eye on anything, and sometimes people don't see eye to eye on things just because they like to argue. It just is.
Absolutely.
But I think one of the biggest reasons why this is such a polarizing issue is because people don't really understand what it is.
Right.
It is, they hear it and it's through word of mouth, right? They hear it and it's through the news. But until you actually do the research and learn what it is, you're always going to be in opposition to it. And so I think it's the lack of knowledge.
Absolutely.
Hey.
The lack of knowledge. Hey, Uncle Kai in the house. Absolutely the lack of knowledge. And willfully, a lot of times when it comes to issues like this and topics like this, people willfully disseminate false information.
Absolutely.
Because you can absolutely push people over the wrong edge by misinforming them.
Yes.
And fear mongering and those type of deals. But hopefully we can clear some of that up. But before we get into the things of the things, I want to discuss some things that's going on in culture. So now I want to introduce a new segment. What segment you say? I'm glad you asked. I want to introduce class versus ass. Now,
talk about it.
I don't want y'all to think we're finna get up here and show y'all a bunch of ass pictures, which I'm not opposed to. Follow me on Instagram if you like ass. But Hey, Dr. Holt, how you doing? Um, we want to talk about class versus ass, where we want to highlight someone who is pushing the culture forward, but we also want to give people examples of people who may be counterproductive in this thing. You know, people who may be a little,
Problematic. Okay.
problematic. There we go. They're problematic. We want to give you an example of each, just so that you don't drink from every cup that is set in front of you. So the first person we want to introduce is the class of the week, the class act of the week. And for this week, we have none other than Conscious Lee. Okay. Now, I don't know many of you that follow him on social media. This young gentleman, and I say young gentleman because I don't even believe he's 40 yet, speaks on all things that concern the betterment of humanity. Yes, he is pro-Black, but one thing I tell people is just because you're pro-Black doesn't mean you're anti anything else, right? And so he's pro-Black. He is an ally to the LGBTQ plus community, and he speaks from a well-balanced perspective. So he's willing to call BS out on either side. And so he's a class act. Why is he a class act? Because he admits when he's wrong. There have been times where he got it wrong, and he has made a video apologizing and admitting that he was wrong. And it wasn't one of those, well, I was wrong, but you made me be wrong type deals. It was, you know what, I was wrong. I can be correct. I can be corrected. And he left it at that. He apologized. And I apologize. You know, I appreciate that. So our class act for the week is Conscious Lee. Let's hear for Conscious Lee. All right. And our ass of the week. The ass of the week.
But her outfit is so giving.
You know, she is so beautiful and she is so smart. She is intelligent. But this is the prime example of, by the way, this is Candace Owens, for those of you that don't know. This is Candace Owens. And she is counterproductive. She is the epitome of, you know, she's kind of like the Uncle Ruckus in real life. You know, some of the things she says is absolute truth. But why would you say that at this time? Like, shut the whole Unc say beautiful is a strong word. Why would you say that? And so now she's on, if you go to her social media right now, she's showing up at all the Black Lives Matters things, and she's saying the Black community owes her an apology for not trusting in her and not believing in her. But again, remember we talked about purposely disseminating false information. The Black community has been calling out Black Lives Matter, right? But we just chose not to do it on white people's platform, okay? Some things need to be handled internally. Sometimes you need to check a person at the house, because overall, they did do some good. You know, that's her debate. They did do some good, you know, but we definitely need to check them and, you know, hold them accountable. But she likes to do it in front of white audiences, and she likes to just, you know, say the most degrading and the most
stereotypical things
yes.
about Black people
yes.
in front of white audiences. And don't get me wrong, I want to help us kind of really I say it's like when you have a really nice neighborhood, but then you got that one house on the block that has all the broken down cars parked on the grass. Like, right, I want to get those cars fixed and or towed away. I absolutely do. But I'm not going to say that in front of certain audiences.
Right.
And that's my challenge with Candace. And everything that she says is not wrong. Most of it is just said in front of the wrong company, and she's getting checks from the wrong people.
That part. Sometimes all money ain't good money. That's what they taught me. All money ain't good money. Sometimes you have to turn down the money because it goes against who you are at the core. Absolutely. So enough about her. But this will be our new segment, class versus ass of the week. Class act of the week, Consciously. Ass of the week, Candace Owens. Like Kwame say, we know who that heifer is. All right. In addition, so if you have someone out there who is really doing their thing to push the culture, this is not about being nationally known. Everybody has to play their part, Manon. And sometimes people are waiting until they get the notoriety before they step out. No, boo, step out where you are. Make a difference where you are. And so if you know someone who is doing their thing where they are, please send them in. They need to have somewhere where we can find them on the internet and verify that they are actually doing the thing, But if you have that, send them in, and we definitely want to highlight our people who are letting their blackness shine. Just let your soul. Wrong key. Hold on. All right. Whew. Manon, I got a question for you. What would you do? Manon, I got a question for you. What? She like that's not a full statement. That's not a full statement. Yeah, I got a question for you. Those of you that are watching, what would you do with your summers at home, crying on and on? Okay, so
yeah.
All right, so we got a question for you tonight. Our question for you tonight is simple. What would you do if you were at work and you seen a coworker being attacked in what seems to be a racially motivated attack? Okay, so you're at work, your coworker is doing their job, and you see them being physically attacked in a racially motivated way. Okay, what would you do? Would you A, yell stop, or I'm calling the police, cut it out, I'm dialing 911? Okay. Would you jump in and start breaking it up, all the while being nonviolent? Because what the world needs now is love, sweet love. What the world needs now. You know that song, Manon?
Love, sweet love.
Yes, God. I need a little help tonight. I'm hoarse.
I got you.
Yeah.
I hit the rafter. You hit the rafter. Go down to the basement.
Yeah, because last weekend they came and they tore my throat up, but we'll talk about that on another show. Or would you C, act like you didn't see nothing, because that ain't none of my business. That is absolutely none of my business. Or would you D, catch the holy chair spirit and go ham? Just you get a chair shot. You get a chair shot. Now, I want y'all to know, we getting ready to talk about this because we missed it. Okay. We didn't miss it. We didn't get to discuss it, so we gonna discuss it.
We can rewind. Mm-hmm.
Dr. Ho says D. In addition, my Glock if necessary, because I'm always carrying. Absolutely. Can you back that up? I didn't get to read Uncle Kyrie. He said, I'm jumping in and getting some hits in. Absolutely. And I think Kwame commented as well. Look at me being nosy. D, folding chairs all the way at WWE up in this mug. So I think we kind of agree with this, because Manon, I'm going D as well. I'm going D.
I understand. I'm a B person.
You're a B person?
I am a B person. Okay. I'm going to do all that I can to break it up. But the minute the table turns and now I am a target, your life is in question at that point.
I want to say I think that's growth, because that's not the Manon I knew back in the day. The Manon I knew back in the day would have just came in throwing bows.
That's what I'm see.
There's definitely some growth there. Yeah,
I've learned a lot. I want to spread love, not these hands.
Okay. Yeah, because the Manon I know back in the day, right? Manon would have been like, I don't see A or C or B. All I saw was D. Right. Okay.
You started it. I will finish.
Absolutely. He that has begun a good work. All right.
Hey, Evo.
So, obviously, we're talking about the Riverboat Brawl, or what they call it, the Montgomery Brawl. So here we had this 65-year-old man who was doing his job. And we could just rewind this a little bit. He was doing his job, And we had a group of white people, or a group of our counterparts, our clear counterparts, who felt like he didn't have the right to tell them not to be where they were, when in fact he did, right? And so instead of just cussing, yelling cuss words and like, I'm not going nowhere, they decided they wanted to get physical with this gentleman. And so you see about 5 or 6, maybe 7 people jumping on this 165-year-old man. And then you see the first gentleman that got there to help, he's not throwing no balls. He's trying to break it up and be peaceful.
Than me.
And he's being the B person. He's being the B person, right? But then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, see, the Lord always got a ram in the bush, right? All of a sudden, out of nowhere, you see Black people showing up in a physical way to assist this just older gentleman in his survival, because I believe if they didn't step in, I do believe that something very, very tragic could have happened in this moment. And I think this is indicative of the time that we're in now, Manal. I think that this is indicative of the time that we're in, and I think this is a clarion call that we need to start coming together, and we need to stop our inward bickering and the bullshit we got within each other, and we need to focus on what really matters, right? Because when they first see me, they don't see a gay man, they don't see a Crip, they don't see a Blood, they don't see a whatever you be. They see a Black individual that is a threat to them. And correct me if I'm wrong. And I think sometimes we major on the minor with each other so much that it causes a great divide for us in-house. A bunch of drunk honkies. Absolutely, Kai. I do think there was some liquor involved, because I think they didn't think that all the way through. They couldn't have. They couldn't have. In terms of the climate of today, Manal, what do you think this symbol? I think this was very symbolic of where we are as a people. What are your thoughts?
Well, I think my first thing was I made it my business to make sure that my soon-to-be 12-year-old knew all about this event. And I made sure that he knew all about it because I needed him to understand the significance of where we have come as a Black people. And so I helped him to make the connection to way back when, of course, during slavery time, and even after that, when Black people were not able to come to one another's defense, or it meant their lives as well. Right. And so we used to have to watch each other getting beat. We used to have to watch each other getting spat on, or just treated inhumanely in all sorts of ways, being raped, being killed even. We used to have to watch each other go through these experiences and how to turn ourselves off. But in this situation, in 2023, Black people were able to look over and see their brother in need and say, not today, not this one. I have something to say and do about it. And so it's a really monumental shift that's happening, where we are able to say, you know what? Not another one of us. Right. Not another one of us. And that's really powerful, because our kids, my son, again, soon to be 12 years old, gets to start seeing Black people working for each other at a neighborhood level, at a grassroots level. Right. This is not just, Black voices on BET somewhere, or, the Black Excellence Conference out in, Georgia somewhere. Right. No, this is down at the river in a little old town, where Black people are saying, we got your back. And that's a beautiful shift.
Absolutely. I want to take my hat off. Today I could have had one on, but I didn't wear one.
Dude threw it up and said it's fine.
I want to take my hat off to all of these individuals that jumped in and handle business. I do. I want to take my hat off to them. I thought it was beautiful. I do not. I hate that we have to say I don't condone violence, because if you know me, you know I don't. But I also don't condone 12 people jumping on one person who's just trying to do their job. Period.
Absolutely.
I definitely, I don't condone fucking around and not finding out. I'm glad that they found out.
And here's the thing, what's really a trip, and I know if we can think back to seeing those pictures back when they were able to photograph and highlight in newspapers the lynchings and things that were going on. We saw kids out there.
Right.
We saw women out there.
Right.
And a lot of times they were taking part. And so even in this brawl, you saw women.
Yes.
You saw the white women throwing bows. You know, so it's like this is not a white man problem versus a black man problem. This is definitely
we stand together in this, right?
Yeah, you know, and so I want to see more of black women, black men coming together, black youth coming together, black elderly people, everyone working as a unit, because white people gonna work as a unit all the time.
That's one thing they're gonna do. They're gonna have that white person's back. Absolutely. So big ups to y'all. They low-key created a national holiday, because I know what I'm cooking next year for the Montgomery Brawl. The August 5th. I don't know what y'all cooking next year, but hell, I might swap Thanksgiving out for the August 5th. You know. I
think that's a good trade, actually. I do. Putting that on my job's calendar right now. Next year, I will not be here.
That's my thought. Absolutely. So I definitely want to celebrate them for this. I want to celebrate all of the media platforms that were bold enough to speak about it in a non-biased way, because you had a lot of people that were trying to turn it into, you know, bullying and oh, they took it too far, and you know how the other end of things tend to do. But I'm excited that we held down our guns, and it wasn't just us. There were, Caucasian people who were definitely also speaking like, no, you started it and you got mad because you couldn't finish it. So I definitely want to big ups to y'all. Big ups to the Aquaman, to the 16-year-old Aquaman that got out there and swam for his dear life. Big ups to him. Big ups to him. All right. So Manal.
Yes, Walter.
I'm ready to talk about the things of the things.
Let's get into it. So, y'all, we are going to talk a little bit today about this critical race theory. And these all sound like a whole bunch of big words in one breath, but I promise you, it is not as complicated or as deep as people are trying to make it. And so we're going to take the time right now to explain to y'all what critical race theory is and why it is important.
Can we get the graphic? The graphic. Oh, the graphic. This is... So, critical race theory. Now, what we have to realize, okay, because when you start talking and you listen to like Fox News, they try to make it seem like critical race theory says all white people are racist, all white people are evil. You inherently are racist because you are white. And then you see the people in the audience saying, no, but I have 3 white friends. I sucked about 3 white penises when I was in college. I'm not racist. Instead of dealing with the facts. And I think what we're dealing with right now, and we'll get into this a little further, I think what we're really dealing with right now is they don't like the fact that this exposes the flawed history of America. It can no longer be the picture perfect ideal that they painted for so long. Like, your country is no better than any other, right? But so one thing is, critical race theory is the theoretical framework, an approach to learning that helps us understand how racial and structural disparities endure, despite laws designed to discourage them. So all of the discrimination, all of the racial inequities that are out there, a lot of them are going to endure despite the laws that are put in place, despite us voting for them. They're going to endure. One reason is because it's ingrained in our culture, the undercurrent of our culture, because it's how the country was established. But no, you go ahead and take one.
So, and just to clarify, critical race theory is something that has been taught on the collegiate level for many years.
Right.
It's been taught on the collegiate level. So all that's being stated now is we need to teach the same subject matter in a more simplified way, now to the younger kids. It needs to start with primary school. And so the reason being is because you can shape a child's ideology when they're younger. So that way, by the time they become an adult, they are more open, more sound, and they have more perspective as to how they live and how they affect the world. So the goal is to unite people, right?
Right.
So critical race theory is there to expose, yes, what happened historically in the United States, but it's also there to expose how our historical roots have grew into this large tree that is now the United States of America, and the reality that we are still dancing in the branches, we are still eating from that fruit, and we are all still very sick from eating that fruit and not getting adequate shade from that tree. And so that was a really elaborate way of saying it's still affecting us today. So, so be all poetic and stuff. It just happens. So I want to read what critical race theory is not. So CRT is not a study in placing blame. It neither vilifies nor victimizes any group, black or white. Now, why is that important? One of the biggest things that is being said about critical race theory is that it's blaming all of what is going on in black people's lives on every single white person.
Right.
And that is not the case. No one is going to be sitting in class talking to kids saying, look to the left of you, look to the right of you, that white person next to you is the problem. That's not how that goes.
Right.
What it is actually saying is that because of the way that our society is set up, you have white people that naturally have more of an advantage. And here's why. And so what it would do for the black kids is it will, of course, teach them a more sound history that helps them to understand their current condition. But what it would do for the white kids is that it will help them understand how they can, one, exist in their privilege, but two, also make room for people of color who are just as deserving and who also who have not had as many opportunities as them, and be able to open doors for them.
Absolutely. I think this will be a great healing agent for our country. You know, again, we're not vilifying anyone. I remember I used to work at a retirement home. For those of you that don't know, my life has fell apart. It was in shambles. But I'm doing so much better now. I was a waiter at a retirement home, and I remember they were tearing down a statue of, I want to say John Wayne. They were renaming a John Wayne or something because of, he had a racist past or something of that nature. It was a really prominent figure. And so I showed up to work, and one of the waitresses was crying. She was boo-hooing. She was crying in the corner. And so me being the nice gentleman that I am, I walked over to her and said, "What's wrong? Are you okay?" She was like, "I just don't like what's happening." And mind you, she's a waiter. She's not a resident. And I said, "Well, what's happening?" She was like, "What are we going to do for our country? What are we going to tell our kids?" And so I didn't know where we were going with this conversation. So I'm like, okay, well, like what brought all this on? And she's like, they're tearing down all these statues. They want to, strike. They want to write all these disparaging things about our leaders. What are we going to tell our kids? And so then at this time, I no longer felt sorry for her, because I'm like, you need a dose of reality. I said, we need to tell them the truth. We need to tell our children the truth, right? This is also going to allow children to have some grace toward their parents. I'm not saying all parents that ain't doing shit with their life, this is an excuse, but this will also let them know that there are things working against a lot of times the Black man, the Black woman, in terms of them having success. So this is definitely, I think, will be a good healing agent internally, but also for us collectively. Now, we're getting ready to go to commercial break, so I want you all to go ahead and think on this, and we got some questions for you all when we come back regarding critical race theory, and we're just gonna maybe talk and maybe laugh a little bit. Of course, this is no laughing matter, but we're gonna talk and have a whole conversation about this. Go ahead and take us away, Kwame.
This episode is sponsored in part by Bullet and Flight Radio. Get ready to uplift your spirit with Bullet and Flight Radio, the world's leading progressive Christian radio station. Experience the vibrant fusion of gospel house music and a rich medley of inspiration from all musical genres that'll make your heart soar. Join their extraordinary lineup of today's trailblazers, visionaries, and voices that matter, all sharing their stories and wisdom. Stay plugged in around the clock as they broadcast unmissable content 24/7. Your go-to station for all things inspiring. Become a pilot today by visiting bulletandflightradio.com. Bullet and Flight Radio. Your story, our station. Step away from the chaos and noise of your daily life. Experience moments for yourself that are calm, serene, and full of peace. A necessary respite to foster growth within you, because self-care should be luxurious. Lux and Noir.
Hey, welcome back. This is your boy, WaltB. And we are continuing on with our conversation about critical race theory. So we don't went over what critical race theory is not. Critical race theory is not us trying to blame you. It is not us trying to place all the blame on white people. It's not us trying to make an excuse for what we do or do not have, right? It is also not us trying to say all Black people are victims, by any means necessary. It's really us trying to give a clear look. A clear look at the scope of the racial picture here in America. But now, before we left, you were mid-thought. You were kind of sharing some things. Would you mind maybe picking up where you left off and giving us a little bit more insight as it relates to critical race theory?
Absolutely. So one of the most important reasons why critical race theory does need to be taught in schools is because it shines the light on Black people in history, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't separate the two out. When we last had our show, we left off with a gentleman going before a board stating why he felt like critical race theory didn't need to be taught in schools, and it was a Black man saying, why he thought that it should not be taught. And I completely understood where he was coming from, right? It's that thought that we don't need to be a standout people. We actually just need to be a part of the conversation in its reality, in its totality and entirety. So one thing that I do, again, people need to understand what critical race theory is, because it tells the history of the United States, as you're saying, from an objective perspective, meaning it sticks to the facts. This is
Right.
where we were. This is where we won't. This is where we weren't. This is what happened. This is what didn't happen. These are the people that was involved, and it tells the story with us involved, with us included, and we're not just these isolated people on a plantation that didn't know how to read, write, and talk, and who loved their master.
I love my master, and there's a whole lot of that shit going on. Oh my god! But that's not what this show is about. Don't get me on my motherfucking soapbox. Now, when it comes to race, there is a way that people want to look at race, and they want these things to be true. You know, when we start talking about race and you start calling a thing a thing. I've been in the room. So back when I was a police, Lord, I ain't never been no motherfucker.
I was like, you were?
Back when I was a pastor, I would sit in the room with the police officers, and I remember as a young pastor, I was scared to actually call out racism, like to their face. I would be scared to look at a white police officer in the eye and be like, "Hey, you're being racist. You pulled this young man over because you're racist," you know. But as I got a little older, you know, I came a little more settled in this thing. And the first thing they try to do is, why are you trying to make it about race? I was just trying to keep the area safe. No, you were racially profiling this young man, right? He has a right to be outside walking. He has a right to be with his friends. You walked right past this group of white people who were actually vandalizing, right? And you decided that you wanted to harass. You know, I had to wait, but it seemed like every time I had to wait till I got a little older to become more comfortable in addressing that. But every time I would address that with a white police officer, a white teacher, a white principal, you know, as a pastor, you get called into these meetings. When I would address this, sometimes I would excuse the kid because I didn't want them to think that now they got a license to be all kind of disrespectful. But when we would address these issues, sometimes we had to excuse the kid, but they would always try to flip it and turn it on me like I was being racist because I was turning it into race and because I was bringing up race. Like, no, you went out of your way not to address the elephant in the room, but I'm going to call that big bitch out. You're being racist. And so I saw this video on social media. Did you send this to me, Manal?
I don't remember. You got to press play.
Okay. All right. But I've seen this video on my social media, and it's like this embodies what they try to do every time you bring up critical race theory or you're trying to address any type of racial disparity. Go ahead and play Kwame, please.
Hey boy, you better get to work picking that cotton. But why only me? Is it because I'm black? Now, it's not about that. It's about an economic system that may not be perfect, but is based on universal principles stated in the Declaration of Independence. I know you keep saying that. It just seems strange that there's no white people picking cotton. Wow. Again with the race. You need to stop reducing people to their skin color, my friend. You're the real racist here. You're right, Massa. I apologize for making you feel uncomfortable. I forgive you, boy. We all make mistakes.
You know what? I have, when I tell you I have been annoyed to my core with that type of, that's that shit Candace Owens be doing. You're trying to turn it into race. The police were just trying to keep them safe. I'm not gonna, like, no, bitch. Yeah, we can cuss on here. I almost said, can we cuss on here?
You can. You are grown.
They a lot of times they go deer in the headlights when you start talking about race, and then when you start really calling things out, they try to make it seem like you are the one who is crazy and like you are the one who are making up these things. And so I used to work with mentorship, and we both work with this company. We worked there at different times, but I used to work in mentorship. And when I would talk to these young people about advocating for themselves. Sometimes you have to stand on the truth, even when the other side is acting like the truth is not a thing. You still have to stand on the truth of what something is. And I think that is when we teach critical race theory in the proper way, and we're allowed to look at things through a lens of truth and honesty, we empower our young Black and brown and Asian and anyone else who's discriminated against, trans, gay. We empower them to actually call a thing without. We empower them to call a thing in spite of the other side, the opposing side, acting like it's not a thing. The thing I wanted to kind of, go ahead. I'm sorry, you were going to say something.
No, you're fine. I just love Trevor Noah. I love Trevor Noah, the team that he has around him. The work that he is doing is monumental to pushing Black people forward. But one of the things that I think is important is the acknowledgement that we are critical race theory. Our everyday lives and everyday experiences as Black and brown people in our bodies, we are critical race theory. So essentially what it is just telling real everyday stories. One of the experiences that I have with my job, I am the only Black face at my site.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Where I am. And one of the reasons why I intentionally stay there, I could have went across town where all the Black kids were and the Black staff was, but I said, no, I need to stay over here because the families need to see me working with their kids. Their kids need to be touched on, taught by, loved on, and touched appropriately, but taught by someone who looks like me. And one of the things that was really telling to me is that a lot of the kids, when I first started working with them one-on-one, they looked at me like they had no idea that I was a person. And I'm getting your hair and rubbing on my hair. And one of them, we're starting to work on colors. And they're like, wait, you're a different color than me. Yeah, I am. And they just keep rubbing on me, it's like, and I'm understanding they're trying to explore and understand why I don't look like them in the mirror or why I don't look like their mom. Right.
Right.
And so that representation is very important. And it's a part of the system that we have due to our history. It's that divide that's still there. And the reality that you have some kids that will grow up, go all the way to high school, go all the way to college, and never have a positive experience with someone that doesn't look like them. And that should not be when we have so many cultures, ethnicities, races in our one country. That should not be the case. And it is still the case for so many. And so when we look at the importance of critical race theory and our current responsibility to pushing it forward in our everyday lives, we have the ability to take young people and teach them that I am not your enemy and you are not mine. And even though I am an individual and you're an individual, we have more things in common than we do that are not in common.
Absolutely.
And like you said, it's an opportunity to bring everyone together. Is everyone going to be the same? No, because it's the beauty of diversity, but opportunity to develop empathy and connection with and for one another.
Absolutely. I love this. I love. I love this. So one thing that really stuck out to me when we were getting ready for the show was how you explained critical race theory. Okay, so it's not that we are trying to, again, we're not trying to destroy anything, right? But we're just talking about how the racism is implicitly, it's kind of just woven into the fabric of our laws and into like our social, right? Our social stratification, respectability politics, even, the closer you are to white, the more acceptable you are. And so we're not only talking about skin color, but we're talking about your hair texture, your
Absolutely.
features, and so even though I do think some of these concepts may be a little mature for an elementary school student to digest, some of the concepts, but I definitely think on an appropriate level, these things do need to be taught to our children.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because the reality is our children are growing up in a racist society. So why can't
Period.
we teach them why and how to fix it?
Right.
Right. So they too are going to the store with you and feeling the energy that's in the store. They too are going out and walking down the street with you as the adult and feeling the looks or being dismissed on the sidewalk, or they're walking into the schools and being treated disrespectfully by teachers. And let me say this: dismissing your child is just as problematic as approaching them like they are broken.
Okay. Can you break that down?
Say that again.
Can you break that down a bit?
Yeah, I will give you a great example. So one of the things that I experienced with my son, because I kept him at charter schools for a while, he rarely saw a teacher that looked like him.
Okay.
And I mean rarely. Like, we had to find him on the campus. There's no one that looked like him. Now, yes, that was my choice because I wanted him to get a better education, right? But now we made that shift where he's at a school where everybody looks like him.
Yeah.
And so it was important for me to give him that balance. But what did we learn along the way? Well, when he was at the charter schools, he was only one of few kids that looked like him. Right. And so what I found is that the teachers did not know how to emotionally connect with him. They felt as though he was so smart, so he shouldn't have emotional and social challenges. Therefore, they didn't know how to help him bridge the gaps with other students. The other thing that we faced was when he did start displaying challenges in those areas, they over babied him as though he couldn't meet the standard. And so it is just as much of a problem to assume that this child doesn't need help.
Got it. Okay.
Or to assume that this child cannot be helped, or requires a different standard because of their ethnicity or their demographic or their home's social economic status, as it is to just completely ignore them and dismiss them.
Right.
All of those things are damaging. That
Absolutely.
lets me know that you are not connecting with this child on a personal level, getting to know who they are as an individual. You are classifying them and you are approaching them as a class.
Okay. I definitely get that 100%. I agree with it. Now, Manal, that was heavy. That was heavy. It hits me on so many different ways. As when I had the opportunity, I was a very active father. I would show up to the school. I would pick my child up from school, and a lot of times, the teachers would give me a hard time because in their mind, Black fathers aren't active, so what are you doing here? They would call the mom to make sure I could pick my daughter up. Like, no, I can do this. Like, this is what I can do. I don't need permission. These type of deals. That was deep. That was heavy. We need a moment with Manal real quick. Can you give us help us process all of this, Manal?
Come on. Well, so here's the thing, y'all. Tonight we're talking about critical race theory, and I really want you all to understand how vital you are to your own existence and your own history and your own future. And they, whoever they are, will do their damnedest to write your importance out of the books. And it is really important that you take the time to really understand who you are and the message that you have within yourself. And first give that to you, then the people that's within your home. And be intentional about who you are when you step outside those doors, because people that look like you are watching you, and people that don't look like you are watching you. And it's not about being perfect, but it is absolutely about being your full, beautiful human self, because you deserve that opportunity.
I love that. I love that. My full, what was that? Full,
Beautiful
beautiful
human self.
human self. Yeah, God. All right. So Manal, we love you, we love you, we love you, we love you, Manal. How can we find and support you on social media?
Oh man, this Kwame, you got the things. Okay, so no. So on YouTube, you get there we go. Yeah, on Instagram, proud_Manal Smiles. And on YouTube, you can look me up under Bay Windows. Appreciate the life. And also on Instagram and on YouTube. Those are the main ways that you can definitely connect with me.
Absolutely. And as you know, with me, you can always find me on all social media platforms, WaltB Connection. And we'll be discussing some more of the things. We're going to go ahead and wrap things up this week. We will be back next week with another bomb episode of the WaltB Connection, where we talk about all the things of the things, where we have a good time.
We're gonna get freaky next week, right?
We're gonna get a little freaky. Tonight,
freaky.
baby, I wanna get freaky with you. Yes, we're gonna do all of the things next week. All right. Well, thank you so much for tuning in. Go ahead and take us away, Kwame.